Well, hello. Welcome back to the Mud Shop. This time, I believe is the first time I've ever tried to record an unloading of a bisque kiln. I've not looked down past the first shelf. I did open this up yesterday to make sure everything looked okay from the top. This is bisque fire. I have a Scut 1027 electric kiln, and I fire to 04 for my bisque fire. And the pieces on the top, now some pieces I made last week on a Monday and I fired it on Thursday. It dried extremely fast. Because it's so humid here in South Mississippi, I keep an air conditioner running. You probably hear it humming. And I keep it on low, and it keeps the air dry in here. My pieces are on the opposite side of the room from the air condition. Is not blowing on them. I do not cover them. They're on the shelf. I'll see. There's my shelf. It is protected by a big black tool shelf, tool cabinet, so there's no air blowing directly on it. You see, I have a few pieces there. Those I made Thursday. They actually could be fired today, which is Monday. So this is a pretty fast turnaround with pottery. It's not like that in the winter here. Even when I run the heater to keep it from freezing, it still doesn't dry that fast. Sometimes it doesn't dry enough for me to finish making pieces, so it takes several days for them. But anyway, I thought I would share with you what's coming up. I do make flower magnolias, and I make them and put them in styrofoam bowls till they get bone dry to fire. And I had this idea, and last week Monday I made a bowl to use as a bisque mold, and it was dry by Thursday. So I put my magnolia down inside my bowl to fire it. Now I'll use this bowl. I will not glaze it or fire it in the glaze kiln. It will not be vitrified. It'll stay as a bisque mold. And now when I make my flowers, they are very delicate, especially whenever they get bone dry, because the petals are so thin. They have a big tendency to break. So I made this bowl. I'll make the flowers, place them in this bowl, and not touch them again until they come out of the bisque fire. This will be their cradle from the time they're made until they're bisque fired, and then I'll take them out. So I'm gonna keep my bisque bowl here on my shelf. I'll take my flower, and I will probably glaze it a yellow for the center of it, and then a white. Just dip it in probably Clayscapes clear cream. Anyhow, so that's you'll see them again whenever I get them glaze fired. So anyway, I made a teapot. Now this teapot was made the week before, so it did set for a week. Here's the little lid, and here's the pot, and it has a little bit of a bumblebee texture. You see the little bees and the honeycomb and a few flowers. If you have any glazing ideas, send me a comment. All right, I also tried the berry basket. Now, I think I'm going to glaze this in ancient copper. It turns out beautiful. I have a little small sample piece here of the ancient copper, and I think it'll look really well. It'll go real good with the ancient copper. So that's what color I'm going to do the basket. And this on the little ruffle on it, I'll probably do a flux, so it'll give it a little contrast. But that's the berry basket. I have a mug with it's called Gestangle texture on it. I did make a lid for it, so the lid will match. And it's even texture on the bottom. And I'll probably do that in multiple Celadon colors. All right, my Christmas in July, I'm getting started. So here is the first round nativity plate. Now I've made the nativity plates for a store in Tylertown several years ago, and I've made new ones every year for them to sell, but this is my first one to try on a round plate. They're usually a rectangle plate. So that'll be glazed. And I no longer have a connection with that store, so I can sell that anywhere. I just try, if a store's carrying something, I try to let them be exclusive. All right, here's my little saucer for my teacup. I did make a lid for it because when I steep tea, I like to let it set for a good long time and keep hot. So I put a little thumb rest and a little lacy bottom. And so I did make the little dome top to go on it. Like I said, I'll probably look for the comments for glazing ideas. As far as witness cones with my bisque fire, I only put my target cone in, and this is the 04. So this one was broke on the end. I have others on through here. See, here's another one. Here's one that was a whole one. I had in my box of cones this time. There were several that were broken, so I just stuck them in there anyway. All right, post up out of the way. All right, my little baking pot, I fired this with the lid inverted, so that way it wouldn't slump. It give it a little more support. Now, I have had a suggestion on how to glaze this. This is a good little pot for a empty nester. And I had a suggestion on a turquoise, and I have, I believe it's Western brand, Ultra Turquoise, and it is a gorgeous color. So I'll probably do an underglaze on here and white back so that the texture will show, and then I'll put the Ultra Turquoise on it. So that way you should be able to see the texture underneath the color. But now the bottom, I can put the underglaze on it and wipe it back so the texture will shine, but I will not put a glaze over the bottom because I'm not going to fire this on stilts. I want to be able to fire it just on flat on the shelf. So that is the little baker with the little round handle. I made a infuser. You put this down in your mug. It's got little wings to help hold it up. You put your tea here, you pour your water in and just let it set, and it seeps through the holes. Then you can take this out with the tea leaves, and so I do want to make sure that I coat this good with glaze. So it'll be a Celadon glaze that'll shine all this, and I'll probably do an underglaze so the texture will show. I do want the texture showing, but I want it coated good everywhere. And I'll probably glaze the bottom also, since it's going to be down into the cup. And so I want it covered good, and I'll fire this on stilts. And here's just a little cup that goes with the teapot. All right, here is a Mississippi plate with some lace texture on it, and I'll glaze one color on the lace texture and another color on this edge. But you see, it's pretty nice size. It doesn't have a whole lot more shrinking to do. And I did not put a foot on this. It's flat on the bottom. So if you have an idea of what would make a good color for this, let me know. I will do a color that won't cover the texture here, but I can do a solid color on this edge. It'll match it. And I was thinking about like a beachy theme. So maybe a sandy color, solid, and then a bluish color like for the water on the lace. But we'll see. And here's another flower. And I only made one bisque bowl, so one of these fired without the bowl. So I will make another bisque bowl so that I can, because I usually make them two at a time. Let me get the shells out. I have a couple more platters here. This is the traditional, what I've been making for my nativity platter, and I'll glaze this and I'll get it fired, and this goes on a plate stand. And I had sold the last of my big platters, so I made another one. This one also has the lace on one side and solid on the other, so I'll do two different colors on here that'll kind of go together but contrast a little bit. And of course I don't want the lace texture to be obscured, so it'll shine through. So just stay tuned. And of course on the back I have my stamp, and I did put a foot on this. All right, a few more posts to pick up. Two more shells to lift out. Another line that I do is a Mississippi themed with cotton bowls on it. So I made a Mississippi plate with the cotton on it. And again, this is a pretty large platter. And I did fire this on grit. I get a medium grit. You see it's on the side, on the bottom, but it does wipe off. Anytime you have a large platter, it wants to move while it's firing and it's shrinking, and if it doesn't move, if it sticks to the shelf, it will crack. Now this large platter was fired on the bottom of my shelf. All my large platters are on the bottom. I see people all the time saying don't fire it on the bottom. Do not open the kiln after it's fired until it's cooled, because if you do, cold air goes in, first place it goes is to the bottom, and it will cool the top of your piece. The bottom of your piece is sitting on that hot shelf, and it's going to cool the top and it's going to make it crack. So do not open your kiln. But I do fire on the bottom. I put grog so that it doesn't stick, and I have never in 5 years, 6 years now, had a piece crack on me, not on the bottom. So and it's flat bottom, no foot, so it can fit on a plate stand. All right, I have a whole bunch of ornament type things. I have a little plate with some flower and butterfly stamps on it with a little foot on it, and then I've made a little bow. I'm thinking about using the little clip on the top to tie it to the basket. See, I can tie it up here and have a little bow for the top of the basket that could be removed. I didn't want anything on there permanent. It would be cute on there permanent, but it would be susceptible to breaking. So when you just use it every day to put berries in or whatever, then, or if you just want to put it on your shelf, you can tie it up with a ribbon. Also, I made a lot of the nativity ornaments. Now, this is take a lot of hand painting. I'll paint Mary and Joseph, the baby, the star, and the little stars here on the sides. I'll do a glaze for the background, kind of flood it in and wipe back off the top, and then I'll glaze the top pieces separate. So, and then after it's been glaze fired, I'll tie a ribbon on it to hang it. And I have several of these. I also have a little spoon rest, Mississippi spoon rest. And my Mississippis, most of them I just hand cut them out. Mississippi's easy to draw, so it's easy to just cut it out in clay. I have a bunch of the nativities, and I have a bunch of the little ornaments. These will be glazed. I'll put in underglaze down in the words of it and wipe it back, and then a glaze over the rest of it. And I have Believe, I have Joy, and let's see, this is Believe, another Joy, and the third stamp is Merry Christmas. So these will all be glazed, and that's pretty much what I have in here. The rest are all the nativities and the ornaments. I did pinch out a shell with holes in it because I have a basket of little shells that I've made, and I want to make a wind chime. So these little shells will tie onto the one that I just pinched out, and they'll, because of their shape, they'll be good wind catchers. And I'll make a little wind chime and probably do one solid disc or a leaf or something that will catch the wind and where it'll make some little wind chime sounds. So, but that's what I've got. I'll finish getting this out and close my kiln up, lock it up, and it'll stay closed until it's time to load it again. When I get all these glazed and ready to go back in, I'll let you know. But until then, if you have any suggestions on glaze colors, you better let me know fast. Some things I already know, like my nativities, and I already had a suggestion for the baking pot, and my flowers, so I'll go ahead and work on those. But if you have a suggestion, let me know. See what I can do, and see you again in the mud shop. And by the way, if you haven't looked at me on Facebook under Dianna's Mud Shop, DIANNA' Mud Shop, I have a Facebook page and I post pictures of all my stuff. So it's good to have you with us. Like and subscribe, and you'll know whenever I put the next video up when I get these done. Thank you for joining me in the mud shop. Bye.